Welcome back, beautiful people. So today, what I'm going to actually do is I'm going to share an update to a video that I made that you guys are absolutely loving, and that's on domain flipping. So what I did was I did a video at random about the different ways that I make money in my business, and one of those we're looking at domain flipping. And I've gotten so many questions since I recorded that video that I had to do an update, but this time I'm going to do the update in a way that's going to answer a bunch of your questions. So what do I mean by that? Well, the last video, what I was really looking at was how I made money. So I was talking about, here are some ways that I make money, and one is through domain flipping, and here's how I find my domains, or here's how I go about doing it. And it was very brief, and it was just an overview of my process. Now, since that video was posted, I've gotten a ton of views, and a ton of you have commented and asked very similar questions. And that's about, Jody, well, how do you actually make a profit from this? So what I want to do today is I'm going to use this video to break down exactly, I'm going to show you a case study of a domain that I sold recently and exactly how I made a profit from it. And then at the end of this video, you do want to go to the end, because I'm actually going to also share a training that I'm going to show you my process from beginning to end. So in today's video, I'm going to break down the cost, show you, I'm not hiding anything. I'm being very transparent. I'm going to show you step by step my expenses, how much it's sold for, my revenue, what's the resultant profit, because you guys wanted proof, you wanted evidence, and I thought there was no better way to do this than to actually give you a case study of a domain I sold recently. Now, the training is going to be different. In the training, I can't just focus on the profit and cost, right? I would not be doing you justice. The training, I'm going to be taking you from the beginning to the end. And what I mean by that is I'm going to take you through the process of how I even find a domain that is profitable, right? How do I choose one that I feel is going to make money, I know will increase in value, so that I'm just not spending a bunch of money buying up random domain names, right? And then I'm going to take you through the process of when I have that, how I do the research, when I decide to sell, how long I hold it for, and all of the processes. The website I listed on, everything is going to be listed in the training. So stay tuned. But even if you don't show up to the training, this video is still going to break down my costs, because I got so many questions about this, as I said earlier, and I want you guys to see it. I'm going to really walk you through today how I actually made a profit flipping a domain, and I'm going to walk you through my costs, my expenses, everything associated with the different parts of it, as well as the profit in the end. Now, as I promised, I'm going to give you a step-by-step breakdown of the cost of actually flipping a real live domain, because the previous video that I did, it was theoretical, giving you tips, but I want to show you something actual, because a ton of you were asking that. So hi, I'm Jody Ann Rowe. If you haven't been to my channel before, I work with event planners and wedding planners to help them market their business. I focus on lead generation. I'm a digital marketer. So my websites include the eventcertificate.com as well as eventplanningtemplates.com, where I sell digital templates for wedding planners to help them streamline their business and processes. As I said, first and foremost, I'm a digital marketer. A lot of my knowledge and tips will come from that. However, I do have different side incomes, and this is where the domain flipping comes in, because it's one of my side income that I do. And I will be honest, I am not a professional domain flipper. I do it mainly as a hobby. Now, the other thing that I do is I used to be an event planner. I don't plan events anymore, but I did for over 15 years. I did corporate events as well as I did events through my own business. I'm also a serial entrepreneur. What that means is that I love creating new businesses. A large part of what I did early on, I started from about 18. I would just try to come up with different business ideas because I love seeing how a business grew. I love seeing how I could make changes online, to learn different areas, and to learn how to actually market something different. And through that process is how I've learned and acquired a lot of my digital marketing skills, as well as my knowledge about domains and domain flipping. Now, on the other side, I'm addicted to traveling. Not that I've been able to do much of that during COVID. I love mangoes, a little bit about me. So if you know any good mango stores, I actually found one when I was in Taiwan that just blew my mind. Let me know, I'll check them out. So when I did the first video was talking about how I actually made $10,000 flipping domain. Now, the title was a little clickbaity, and when some of you went through the video, you had some questions, right? You wanted a deeper breakdown of the cost, which the video did not do. So a lot of you were commenting like, Jody, you said you made $10,000 flipping domains. Was that from one domain? Was that from 10 domains? Was that from like 300 domains? What was that and what was it like? So instead of actually going through and breaking that down, what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to give you something better. I'm going to take one domain examples that I sold recently. I'm going to use it as an example and break it down piece by piece for you so you can see what that looks like. Because that $10,000 was not one domain. It was made up of a couple of domains. But I want to show you what that actually looks like in reality. And the best way to do that is to give you a live, real, actionable example. So here's what you can expect as I go through this in this video. I'm actually going to talk about the domain sale. I'm going to look at the costs, and I'm really pulling out all the figures. Now, I will be honest, in terms of the cost, I round the numbers down, where numbers will say like $90.18. I'll just round it to 90, right? I'll do all the even things to make it quick and easy. And I'm also going to show you the profit in the end. And the profit is going to be made up of a couple of things, so you really want to watch all the way. So where did I start? Here's the thing. So I did my research, which I'm not going to focus on. I did my research and I found a domain name that I thought would be good and would be profitable to purchase. So what I did was I went ahead and purchased that in 2018. Now, at the time I purchased this through GoDaddy, I'm going to be honest. I am a current GoDaddy customer. However, I am moving my items from GoDaddy. I don't recommend GoDaddy. I have had so many issues with them over the years that is just not worth it. So if you're someone that's starting new, as opposed to me who've accumulated a bunch of websites and domain, start with someone like Bluehost. Highly recommend. I'm dropping the link below so you can access them. So the first thing I did was I purchased a domain once I determined that this would be a good one. Now, how do you come up with determining what's a good one? Well, I'm going to show you that in my live training, which I'm going to be hosting, and I'm going to drop the link for that down below because that's a very extensive process, and it's a process that you don't want to skip. Because what I've actually had happen is I've had a number of people who watched my first video and just went on purchasing random domains. Then they would message me and ask, do you think this would be profitable? Well, here's the thing. There's no way for me to tell that. Like, I cannot just look at a domain and say, yes, it'll be profitable. Because when I start my process, I start with a research. Research is honestly about 80% of my process. It's a huge part. And I will show you how to do that. So when I purchased a domain, it was $11. And by the way, I'm full disclosure, I'm in Toronto, Canada, and I'm going to give you, because some of these are in Canadian dollars and I had to convert it. So everything you're seeing right now is in US dollars. So it was $11 US when I purchased it. So the total expense in 2018 when I purchased it at the time was $11. Now in 2019, I still had the domain. I didn't sell it. However, in 2019, when it came up for renewal and I had to renew it, the cost was now $19. So I paid the $19 and my total cost now for actually owning and purchasing this domain, right? Because we had the purchase and now the renewal is now $30. So in the space of 1 year, it's $30. And at this stage, it is just a domain. I hadn't done any development. Now, I renewed it again in 2020. I still hadn't sold it. It was another $19. So the total cost of actually owning this domain was now up to $49. In 2021, you see it right here. The more you hold on to a domain, the more the cost is. But hold on to the end because I'm going to show you if it's worth it or not. So in 2019, I did that. In 2020, I did the same. And in 2021, again, it was up for renewal and I renewed it for $19, bringing my total cost to $68. Now, one of the things I want to caution you here about is sometimes I've met people who say, well, I'm not going to buy a domain and just hold on to it. I need to be able to flip it right away because it's costing me money. And yes, it is going to cost you money, but that's why it's important to do research ahead of time to see if the domain that you're purchasing is a popular search domain or title or keyword, so that when you are ready to sell it, you know that you'll be able to recoup this cost, right? So think of it that way. And I'm gonna, as I said, I'm gonna break this down even further in my training, which I'm gonna link down below in the description box so you can join. Now, here's what I did in 2019. So in 2019, in the summer of 2019, I was doing some searching and I realized that the keyword for my domain had actually gone up in the search. So at the time when I purchased it, it had a certain number of search traffic. It wasn't significantly high. However, the cost per click, and let me explain this. So each domain I purchased based on keywords, and the keyword, I can search the keyword volume, right? So you can use something like Google or other different tools. I'll show you this in the training that you can use to actually find out right there how many times someone is searching this every month, right? So usually if it has a high search volume or a medium search volume, it's a fairly good thing to purchase. However, the next thing that I look at is the cost to advertisers. So one of the things a lot of these tools that you use for keyword finding will show you is how much it costs an advertiser if they want to advertise to someone searching those keywords. So, you know, when you're searching on Google and certain ads pop up, or when you're searching on different platforms on our website and certain ads pop up, each advertiser has to pay a certain amount of money to show that ad. The higher that cost is, I know the better it is for my domain. And this particular domain had a very high ad acquisition cost. So it had a very high one, and then I noticed the search volume had gone up. So one of the things I decided to do, I said, you know what? I'm going to actually just test this out and see if I just made it into a website and just put up like one page of content, if I could actually get traffic and put Google AdSense on it. So in June 2019, I decided that I'm actually gonna add it to a hosting site. So what that means is I'm gonna make it a website and it needs to be hosted. Now I use WordPress. Now I need to explain this one a little bit deeper, only because I feel like this, even though I'm adding this cost right here, it's not a true cost. So I added hosting to the account in June 2019. Now I have a hosting package with GoDaddy, which means that each month I pay for a hosting package. So let's say, I think they have a starter package where you can pay $39 or let's call it $40 every month, and you can host 5 websites. So 5 websites can be live on that package. Here's the thing with that package. If you have only 2 websites, you still pay the $40. If you have 3 websites, you still pay the $40. And up to 5, you'll still pay the $40. So when I have that hosting package before this website, I was still paying whatever the cost was. So adding this website didn't actually add any cost to my bottom line. However, for you as the viewer, if you're purchasing a domain, if you don't have any hosting and you're gonna have to add any hosting, you're gonna have to pay a cost. So this is why I wanted to add this in as a cost for me, because I wanted you to be aware that this would be an expense that you would incur. So when I added it, so what I did to come to this $8 was I basically divided the cost of my hosting package amongst all the websites I currently had on there. So by doing that, it worked out to about $8 per month. And since I just sold it, I had it actually on the platform from June 2019 to now for 33 months. So for 33 months at $8, it came out to $264. I hope that didn't confuse you. If it did, pause the video, go back and listen again, right? So as I said, this is not a cost that I incurred for this particular domain, but you will incur a cost if you don't have an existing hosting package and you're signing up for hosting at first. So that means my total expenses at this point for this website coming to the end is $332. So $332 is what it's costing me now to just purchase and hold on to this domain, and then to add a website with just some content. So here's what I did once 2019 went on, not because as the year went on, what I decided to do was I put up some content to test it out. Now, I did the content myself. I didn't hire anyone to write it, so it was really my time. Now, an hour of my time, I'm going to say, is worth $150. So if you're writing the content, you might want to put it in. If you're not writing the content, you might want to charge it. It depends on how you want to cost it. For me, honestly, when I'm costing out just throwing up content on a website, this took me maybe 2 hours or less, because it's an area in which I already had the knowledge. I just had to do a bit of Googling. I had a ton of the knowledge. I wrote the content very quickly and threw it up. I put it together very quickly. I will not lie. So technically, the time I spent blogging versus the cost was zero to me. But if you're hiring someone, which I suggest you do, if you know you're not an expertise, you don't have the expertise, or you're not very good at just, using Google to find information and put it together, go on a platform like Fiverr or something and find somebody. You can pay someone $5, maybe up to $30 per blog to just do some blogs for you. I just spent 2 hours. It was actually less than 2 hours, if I'm being honest, and threw together a bunch of content. I was able to also link some items. So for example, I might say, okay, here are 3 books I recommend, and I just put together a book list. I linked those from Amazon, and that was the content, right? So it was very quick, very easy. So I'm gonna say the time I spent blogging was about 2 hours, but the cost to me was zero. So my total cost at this point was still $332. Now, recently, so March 2022, I decided to list and sell this website. So I listed it and I sold it at auction, and it went for $3,000, right? So right away, I made $3,000 from this domain, but that's not going to be my true profit. So let's take it back and look at how much it actually cost me in the end. So in terms of revenue, so my revenue from the sale was $3,000, which is great. But my domain expenses, as you saw earlier, from the purchase, from renewing it every year, and then from hosting when I decided to put it on a host in 2019, those total domain expenses was $332. Now there are expenses associated with the actual sale of the domain. So I had to sell this domain. I sold it on a marketplace, and to list the domain, it cost me $29. So the marketplace cost me $29 to be able to list it on auction for sale. Then once it's sold, they actually took 10% of the sale. So it's $300 that went to the marketplace just for the sale. Then once it was sold, it went into escrow. So I personally use escrow for my domain sales, especially when they're over a certain amount. And escrow is just an opportunity, like a platform where the buyer and the seller agree to a transaction. In this way, when the buyer makes the payment, it doesn't go right to the seller until they receive the goods, and vice versa. And this way it just protects everyone in case somebody decides to be a little bit sketchy or a little bit scammy. However, there is a cost to using this service, and that fee is $22.60. And that fee goes, actually, there's a fee to the seller, which is myself. So in terms of listing the domain and putting up for sale, the total expenses there was $351.60. So in total, my revenue was $3,000, however, but I still had domain expenses of $332 from purchasing, hosting, and renewing. And then I had expenses from selling the domain, which is $351.60. So subtracting both of those expenses from my revenue, my profit at this point was $2,316.40. So make a note of that. But I'm going to take it even a step further, because I have to show you what I did in addition. So in addition to this, if you recall earlier, I mentioned that I noticed that the search traffic was going up on the domain, which is why I decided to turn it into an actual website. And all I did was I just put up a quick WordPress site. It was a free theme. I didn't have to pay for the theme. I was already paying for the hosting through my own account, and I wrote the content myself. I didn't have to hire anyone to put together the content. So in terms of that, now I will say that I also added, that I'm not showing here, I added a product to the website eventually. So when I saw that the search traffic was going up, I saw this as an opportunity to put it up as a content site, to put some AdSense on it, and to see if it would get me any money. So what I did was I wrote the content and put it up, and then I went to Google AdSense and I used my AdSense code on the website. So what that does is once I have the code on it, Google is able to show advertisements on the site through the different areas in which I add it to anyone visiting the site. And each time they do, if there is a certain impression or a click, then I make money from those ads. I make a sort of a commission, similar to what YouTube does when YouTube run ads in your videos. If certain people are viewing it or clicking it, then you get a fraction of the actual ad revenue. Now, total from the time I made the website live to now, my total AdSense revenue was $1,150, right? And that was everything I made just having the website sit there. So I have to add that to my total profit after sale. So in addition to the sale, which was $2,316.40, we got to add the AdSense revenue of $1,150. So total in profit for this site was $3,466.40. And that comes from having the website from 2018 until 2022, March 2022, when I sold it. And this is a website where, as I said, I didn't do much with. The only time I actually put in any work on it was putting it up, which took about 2 hours, and putting it up and writing the content. So for everyone that wanted to see the breakdown, that was it. Now, one of the things that I mentioned earlier that I have to clarify is that when I noticed that my AdSense revenue was going up, another thing I did was I decided to put the content that I had on the site into an ebook. So there's some content I had information on the site. I actually just pulled a lot of what I'd already written and packaged it nicely into a very easy to follow workbook, like ebook, that was put together and organized well, so someone could just download that entire bit of information and go through it on their own. They didn't have to sit going through my website trying to scroll through page by page. Now, in doing that, I was able to generate an additional revenue that I'm not even going to add here because I think that would just complicate your process. So if you just want to see the domain flipping step, you saw that. So you can see what the domain flipped for before even the content, as well as add in the AdSense revenue, what that looked like. So this is the reason I broke it out that way, because I wanted you to be able to see the differentiation between domain, website, and then the AdSense. And I didn't even add in the ebook because I'll be honest, the ebook revenue, there is revenue, but it's not significant. At least it's not significant enough where my 3,400 is going to go into the 4,000 or 5,000. So I just decided not to include it. So I hope that helped a bunch of you. You might have more questions after this. And what I wanted to do for you guys, if you do have questions, I have answers. So what I'm going to be doing is I'm actually going to be hosting a live training. And even if you cannot join me live, you can always sign up and I'll have the replay available for anyone who signs up. It will be a paid training, no delusions here. It will be paid, and I'm going to show you the exact steps because I think that's what a lot of people are struggling with. I've gotten so many people reaching out to me and they were asking questions about, well, who's the best domain host, or who is the best this, or how did you do research? And I feel like that would be best addressed in a longer, more comprehensive training where I'm taking you from beginning to end, rather than giving you tiny bits of information that's going to leave you even more confused. So I'm going to drop the link below to the training where you can sign up. I promise I will keep the training affordable. I'll do my best to keep it under $50 so that it's actually accessible to everyone. So you can actually see the biggest part, as I said, is the process of finding a profitable domain. Then once I find that, how I hold on to it, how long I hold on to it, when I decide to sell it, how do I check the value, when I decide if I'm going to keep it as a domain or flip it into a website, and how those decisions come about, as well as the platforms that I recommend using for each and every part of that. So again, please do join me for the training if you're curious or if you have questions, and I'm going to drop the link below so that you can sign up. And I look forward to seeing you. I look forward to hearing your questions. If you go and join me live, as I said, there will always be a replay, and the link is below. Thanks so much for watching. I hope this was able to answer questions for some of you that were asking. Particularly, I wanted to do this video because someone actually says, I think this is a scam. And no, I really wanted to break it down because that's not it. If you follow my channel, you know I don't give any information. I don't give misinformation. Anything I give is something that I can actually back up with real life evidence. So if you haven't already subscribed to the channel, please do so now. Domain flipping is not the main topic of this channel at all. If that's how you found me, I really focus on marketing strategies. So thanks again for watching and have yourself a wonderful day.